Hello and welcome to the KSW Painting UAV8 SuperCar series, and we are here at Nurburgring for meeting 7 of the season. It's meeting 5 of the season. Apologies for the small delay in the broadcast, but we are now just gridding up right now. And on pole position for this race 1 of the evening is Nicole Foggy. Johnny Brandon starts alongside him. However, we believe him to have hardware failure, so he may not be taking the starts. Chris Jackson and George McClay start on the second row with Richard Warmingham in 5th. That's Michael Evtoka, Tony Klusman, Hal Stadler, Guy Croft, and Alessandro Dalladone rounding out the top 10. I am Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Marco Barbanera. And Marco, this should be a good one around a tricky circuit.
It should be, as starting grid is rolling on your screen right now. Apologies for the delay in the proceedings. Technology isn't working nicely with us tonight, but we should be all set. Like you said, a nice racetrack, and I think it's going to be a nice race. 2 races, of course, scheduled for tonight: a sprint one and a longer one, as per usual. And we are going to have, I think, everyone ready on the grid, and we can start.
Yep, here we go. So Johnny Brown, the championship leader, is not going to take the start. A massive change. But here comes Nicole Foggy from the pole position, and we are away racing here at the Nurburgring. It's a decent start for Foggy. He's going to be okay from the drivers behind, all getting a little bit side by side. I think that's McClay just going down the inside of Warmingham. Pretty good start for him. A little bit of contact between second and third of Docker trying to get involved there. Klusman maybe just losing out to Stadler there. And it's a good start actually for Evtoka, up a couple of positions. Seems to be a relatively clean first few corners. There is a spinner though, just behind a KSW Cup driver, but they seem to have got away with that one seemingly. I think Hoffman and Switzer, not a fantastic start for those two, but Foggy out in the lead, half a second clear, as we do now see a bit of a shunt. That's Bogotayev and Hoffman and Dalladone as well, who was up in the top 10.
Yes, so as per usual, the Mercedes Arena gives us some chaotic starts to the race, and this was no different. With Whiting also is having some issues, and he is off. So all is happening in this first lap. A track, Sam, we were going to say in the pre-show before having technical issues, where it's super difficult to pass. So you have to make your opportunities count, and you don't want to lose positions in the very beginning of the race.
Yeah, exactly. And Jackson, to be fair to him, keeping up a decent gap to Nicole Foggy at the moment. He does not want to lose sight of that XVR driver. Just behind Rapiga and Stadler having a go at it. The 2 rookies in the series, and they're still side by side. Just behind this, Greg Carr trying to get involved and throwing Gary Croft and Anthony Woodward in there. And it should be a good battle going into the chicane. This is the fast chicane, the Longpan Endurance Series / World Championship chicane, rather than the Grand Prix one. As just around the outside there was Carr, and he's, in fact, Stadler's moving ahead now, going side by side. Stadler really slow, maybe serving a slowdown, I think. Yes, he is, and he's going to lose so many positions. That slowdown on the opening lap can be absolutely horrendous. I think he's going to lose 4 or 5 positions from this.
Always a tricky moment when a driver takes a slowdown in the first lap. Look at the chaos that it created, as we can see someone going for a ride. It's Philip Antonia and Glaskov as well. There's been some contact, and I mean, you made a good point, Sam, about the quick chicane being induced, because it effectively means, whilst I prefer... some contact there. Tony Klusterman and Edward Raprager are fighting it out. Whilst I prefer it from a driver standpoint, it gives the drivers 1 less passing opportunities, because it is very quick. So especially with these cars, I think you can really take those curbs really hard.
Yeah, I don't think there's an instant limit either, although they will try not to pick up any instants, as you do get penalty points, as Glaskov is off the circuit again. It's up 3 positions from his starting place. Of course, one of them was Johnny Brandon, who led the championship going into this round ahead of Nicole Foggy and Chris Jackson as well, I believe. But he's really had an awful time of it so far, so hopefully we'll be back for race 2, which will be pretty much double in length of this one. As Klosterman getting closer to Rapiga, very poor qualifying. I'm sure Tony will say that. I'm not being overly harsh. He will not be happy with 7th on the grid, considering that he's very much established himself, the 2-time champion, as the best qualifier on the grid, arguably. He's trying to make up the positions now. This is the chicane that Marco was talking about just before. And, well, you can see that's just not a braking zone there. It's very narrow into that corner, and he's just trying to nail the exit. Now, will he look to the inside, Tony? But no, a very late cover off there from Rappriger, and there is contact between the two of them. Boostman just cannot get the power down, though, on the exit. And, well, he hasn't really got the launch that he wants going into this corner. It's really getting interesting as well between Stadler, Croft, Woodward and Antonia just behind. But we'll stick with this battle to forfeit as Klusman down the inside going into turn 1. This lap 3 of the race. And Klusman should be able to make that one stick this time. Rapid just goes too wide.
Yes, great move there by Tony Klusterman, and then Croft, Woodward, the two teammates are side by side, with Croft having the better exit into the first part of the Mercedes arena. With I see there is also Philip Antonia following these guys. Behind them we see the drivers that were involved in the first corner melee, first lap melee I should say, with Winter, the only guy who is still in the pits. Of course, Klaus Winter, my surprise when I learned it a few months ago, Klaus as Winter, KSW Paintings, so the sponsor for this series.
Oh. Seeing that we have broadcast this series with that sponsor for what, 1.5 seasons?
Yeah.
We ought to have known that, really. But
Where's
there you
Foggy?
go.
He's back.
Well, he's yeah, well, that's really not going to help him, because he's not having an easy time of it anyway, even when he is appearing on circuit. But he's only 0.6 of a second ahead of Chris Jackson. Chris Jackson, a driver, he's only won 2 races in this series, which I carry on going on about it. It boggles my mind, as he's such a quick driver. Often a match for Tony Klusman, who has won some 30 races in this series. And Jackson has only won those 2 races at Phillip Island, in fact. But this is looking very possible for him. He's keeping close on the tail of Nicole Foggy. Very positive for the championship for these two drivers as it stands with Brandon's issues, and the gap is down to half a second. But it's so rare that we see an overtake for the lead marker in this series in race 1 when there isn't a mistake involved. You really kind of need a slowdown if you're going to make the move, because these drivers are so evenly matched.
Exactly, so of course it's a completely different story in race 2 with the reverse grid, even though in the last few rounds we have been given very small reversals, so who knows, maybe today is the day that the trend is reversed, as George McLean, like you said, is keeping it close and staying in front of his teammate Michael Evdoka, of course one of the previous champions of the series, with Birmingham behind him. So McLean is really showing off some good pace in this first race.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course Birmingham himself, a former champion, the AM champion of last, also the club champion. Apologies, Richard. It's still a very good championship put together by him. Finished 4th overall, I believe, as Stadler goes down the inside. He's just going to miss that one. And, well, yeah, goes for the opportunity, but he doesn't lose too much time because of it. As off the circuit goes Taylor Lane there for, I don't, is that Beast Racing? I think he is racing for Beast Racing, yes. No, I'm just not sure if that's completely up to date or not.
I promise you that before race 2 we will give you the updated points, and before this round, and we will get the team names back on the screen graphics, because they have seemingly disappeared. So it's week 13 for us as well. Hopefully we get it on track for race 2. But the drivers are really covering up for us, for me I should say, because I'm the one doing all that stuff, because they are putting on a great show. And let's see what they do in the front, because they are so close. But once again, like you said, tough to make a move, especially when Nicole Foggy is in front. And Foggy, I'm quite sure, is after what happened to him in the last round at Imola, of course you never wish technical issues to your opponents. But this, in a sense, he only missed the second race, And it seems like instead Brandon will miss both races. Of course, there are top scores in this championship, so it will even out in the end. But still, for Foggy, it's a great chance, this one, in order to, you know, get back some of the points he lost in Imola.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, so far this season, though, hasn't had a bad week. So if this is his drop week, well, he'll be able to, they won't be too upset with that, I think. Of course, Nicole Foggy, the winner of the pro drivers in the BSRTC Winter Series,
I wonder who won
just
the
over.
overall championship.
Yeah, I wonder who did that. I think a really good quality driver who's very humble about it as well, actually. I think won that one. But no, we'll glaze over that for now. As George McClay, he's looking like the fastest driver at the moment on circuit because he's staying within half a second with ease into Chris Jackson. And then you've got this scrap still going on. Rapika falling into the clutches of Stadler, Carr, Croft, Woodward, with Antonia closing in as well after his earlier off. And Rapika gonna defend pretty hard if we learnt anything from his battle with Tony Klusman earlier on. And once again, going into this chicane is going to be really difficult. He's still having a look though. Is Hal Stadler, but that turn one we've seen so far today, a really good opportunity to get the move done.
I don't know about you, Sam, but you know, Edward and Harald are both two new drivers of the series, but it seems like since the first time they raced in the media day, they're always close to each other and battling it out on the track.
Absolutely. I sometimes get confused between the two of them, to be honest, because they can't got they are so evenly matched, as you say. Marco are different teams as well, as we've got Glasgow and is that Dalladone as well. Yeah, so Dalladone trying to get the move done, and Glasgow, well, unless he can find a shortcut there using the 24-hour circuit, he's not going to be able to fight that one. Taylor Lane,
Bogatairev and Lane.
just came across Bogatairev, and did Lane manage to save that one? He did, and he's still ahead of Raul Ruiz. He's now going down the inside. Lane's going to almost leave it again, heating up those rear tyres now, but he's going to stay all the way around the outside. He's not scared of making contact a second time in just a handful of corners, and he's still going to stay side by side, but Lane just pulling ahead finally.
Yes, and let's get very quickly a replay of what just happened in the first corner. Both cars have seen better days, and it seemed almost like Lane didn't know that he had Bogatairev on his right side. It's a difficult corner, especially if you have only one monitor, no? Because the road is so wide and there's also elevation changes. It reminds me a bit of the first corner in Austin, you know, where if you don't have a triple screen or a visor, it's very tough to have an idea of who is around you. So tough break for these guys, especially for Nikolai, who's now down in P20.
Yep. And yeah, hopefully those two will be able to fight their way up, and they'll be hoping for a big reverse grid. But as Michael said earlier on, so just going a bit wide here is Rapika. Is he going to be under pressure finally from Stadler? Now can Stadler get the good exit? He's almost just got a little bit too close mid-corner there, but he's right on the tail. That slipstream effect not too strong in this V8 car whatsoever, but it will just drag him slightly closer to his rival. Going into the hairpin is Rapika. Going to go defensive. No, he isn't. Stadler will go for this one this time. Surely there's no opportunity for Rapika to come back. They're both going wide, and who's profiting from this? I think that was Card just trying to go through, but he hasn't been able to quite make either of them, as Rapika will try to respond straight away against Stadler. Stadler taking the earliest turn in there possible. Almost picking up a slowdown there is Rapika taking a very tight line through those corners. And this time, no, Stadler, though, pulling away. So, yes, good move there. And the Atomic Motorsports driver up into the top 7.
What a fantastic couple of corners there. And a great move from Stadler. Rapika defending hard but fair. Car almost profiting from this battle. And a new position P7 for the Atomic Motorsports driver, like you said. Let's go back to the front for a bit, as we have this nice train of cars behind them. Jackson, still very close to Foggy. Also McClay there. Evdoka is now being put under pressure not only by Wormingham but also from a charging Tony Klusterman, up only one spot. I say only, but he had to make up a lot of ground after being bottled at the start, basically. He couldn't find, I think he lost a lot of time there, and like you said, a qualifying session that maybe could have gone a little bit better. But let's go back to our friends here, and Raprager train, I should say, even though Woodward lost a little bit of contact, I assume a little bit of a mistake in the middle part of the racetrack, as we are in lap 8, already past the halfway mark of this race 1, as I think car might be lining up for a move-in, even though I think he is not close enough. He makes himself present on the inside of Raprager there, who slides a bit, so it's a better exit from car, but now he has to go all the way around the outside line and losing basically all the momentum he had carried into the first corner, and so the situation stays the same. Glaskov and Daledonne once again going at it. Daledonne leaving a nice black stripe doing the entire second corner in drifting. Daledonne went past Glaskov a couple of laps ago, and now Glaskov is trying to get back to him, as Klusterman, in the meantime, went past Wormingham.
Yes, it must have been a mistake here from Wormingham. So Klusterman's already messed it up, but Wormingham's messed it up even more. And actually being very generous there to Tony, getting off the racing line. Tony Klusterman now up into 5th position. Since he's made that move up into the top 6, he's actually been pretty much a match for the top 3 drivers out there. So Tony could be a very good pick for race 2 of the evening. And he won one race so far this season as the double champion. But I wouldn't bet against him, maybe backing that up later on. As, yeah, Raprager still under pressure from Car. Stadler now 1.6 seconds ahead of these guys. Not necessarily any faster, but whilst these guys are fighting, he's being able to pull away a bit of a gap. Carl is lifting off through the kink there. Is he going to the inside of his rival? Could be very crazy here as Carl loses control of the car. Oh, that wasn't good. And now almost going 3 wide into this final corner. Woodward getting all out to shape, almost going into the pit wall there. And they're going to go side by side, going into turn 1 as we head on to lap 9 of this race. And it's allowed Croft finally past these guys. So he's really profited from that. And Woodward still keeping his nose in there. He's going to adjust his line here. Is the car on the outside as Antonio tries to get involved as well. He's got a relatively clean car, it must be said, despite that issue earlier on. And he's now going to fight his way down the inside into turn 3 now these drivers go. And should have the ideal line here. Should Antonio, but Woodward sticking in there. He's been side by side with various drivers for about 6 or 7 corners now. And he's going to make it 8 or 9, I think, because still Antonio's not giving up. Outside line worked well at that last couple of corners, and looks like it's going to work well through this couple of corners as well, because Antonio down the inside, Woodward staying down the outside, and Antonio's going to have to just back out for now. Brilliant batsman.
Fantastic battle, I have to say. Let's see if Antonio can respond here at turn 6, or I can never read never get if I think it's a 6 on the stands, but sometimes I read it as 8. But another airpin with lots of banking on the left side, as we have to cut to the battle for second place, because McLeay and Jackson are going at it. But of course, as we have seen just a few laps ago, no way to get by an opponent in that chicane unless the opponent makes a mistake. Foggy, despite this battle, is still very much in the in the clutches of Jackson and McLeay both. As we enter lap 10, not a lot of chances left for these drivers, as I think also
he's going to spin around there, and they're both round 2nd and 3rd positions. Well, they've got back on their way relatively quickly, only lost about a second there, did those two. That was a bit clumsy there from McLeay. It was odd because Jackson, after dropping about 0.6 of a second behind Foggy, you can see how close he got to Foggy going into turn 1. There was McLeay completely missing his braking point. I say missing his braking point, just not reacting quick enough to the 2 drivers in front of him, slowing down so quick. And well, this is what happened to Alessandro Dalladoni, which has caused him to retire from the race, I believe, and losing the car into the barrier. And that's a lot of damage as well for Alessandro. He's out of the race. Hopefully, we'll see him later on for race 2.
Antonia and car. Now I think Antonia completing a pass. Yes, in the Mercedes arena as the cloud cover makes its debut today. We've had the sun shining for the better part of this race. Of course, Sam, this is the track that got the night basically optimization in this most recent build of iRacing. So theoretically, it's one of those tracks that can host a night race. I was quite sure it was going to be this one because, of course, we are going to have on iRacing the Nurburgring 24 hours in just couple of months, I think, even earlier than that, and it is not recommended to do that in a track that is not optimized at night, especially the North Light. It's still quite scary to drive in the night around this track, but now the drivers will have the help of the ambient lighting from houses, restaurants, the box complex, the pit complex, and all that nice stuff that makes it very, very nice. And you are not driving basically in a world where there are no light sources apart from the headlights of the cars.
Well, I might have to be driving around the circuit at night later on. The last 1 hour 45 of my race later on, as long as we're still running at that point, will be in the night. So, and I've tried it at night. There's not a lot of light still. I seriously hope they're going to add a bit more surrounding light because there's barely anything to help the drivers, I must say. So it's still very difficult. Of course, later on in the season, we are going to have a Charlotte race, which at least Clyde Whiting said at the start of the season will have a 8 times acceleration and will basically go through the entire day. So it'll be a 2-hour race, 8 times 8, so 16 hours, and it will be held across the night. And that will be a great challenge to the drivers. Of course, that one, with a few more floodlights, will be much easier for the drivers. As we found out from our 90 minutes of Bathurst, where one person accidentally made it start in the evening and run through the night rather than through the day. It is possible to still drive around these circuits without any surrounding light, but it is very difficult indeed. As we go back to the action now with McClay, right on the tail of Jackson. These two now 2 seconds off Foggy. Docker closing in a little bit, but still some 6 seconds behind. And McClay, is he slightly earlier on the power? No, he's just lost a little bit again. Yeah, it's so difficult to pass in this car. I swear I've never seen a car more difficult to overtake on in Iris.
Yes, you have to be brave and you need to get a great exit and let's be honest, most of the times, especially if the pace is so similar, a mistake from your opponent, as we are with just 2 laps to go. That contact that they had in the first corner a few laps ago, of course, was the break that Foggy needed to basically put the win in his bag. And now it remains to be seen, of course, who is going to finish second, who is going to finish third. Also, Tony Klusterman is very, very close to Michael F. Doka, so we might have also a change of position for P4 and P5. But let's focus on this battle here because they are getting closer and closer to the white flag, and look at the run that McClay has. But even in this corner here, which might seem like a passing spot on paper, in reality I think the way the corner is shaped makes it very, very difficult to get side by side with your opponent. And also, if you manage to get side by side with your opponent, you need to get a massive run. Otherwise, if you go side by side into the Schumacher S, it's not quite the greatest idea in the world, because usually one driver or both drivers are ending up, and the walls are very close there at the Schumacher S, so you have to be super careful. Nice run by McClay now. Let's see if he can complete the pass. They both go a bit wide, and I think that Nothing will change as slight almost contact there as the white flag is in the air. So one more lap for Jackson to defend, one more lap for McClay to maybe go and get the move. And it starts right now.
Yep, well, how much risk will McClay have here? Of course, if he finishes behind, he'll be able to start the race 2 ahead. But I'm sure he will desperately want a second position, would be his best result since his comeback for round 2 of the season, I believe it was. But Jackson doing a fantastic job at the moment, but never quit racing. Plus his teammate Tony Klinsmann recovering so far to 5th position. He's still pretty close to Michael Avdoka, about 5 seconds behind these two. But this is the main battle going on. McClay just losing a little bit of time now. 5/10 of a second to catch, but there's no doubt he is the faster driver. And Jackson just a little bit tighter into the second part of this sort of chicane. And a slightly better run for McClay, edging it down to 4/10 of a second now. They're 3.5 seconds behind Nicole Foggy. But McClay is going to have to do something pretty spectacular if he's going to get it done now.
Yes, exactly, as also we have Carr and Antonia battling it out, Evdoka and Klusterman, so these 3 battles will have to be resolved by the end of this lap, and we will follow them in order. So let's see who gets P2 and who gets P3. Seems like Jackson is in a good position to keep that P2.
Just a little bit of a lockup for McClay there.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, he's now 7/10 of a second behind. Outs in the lead, though. Nicole Foggy, XVR Sim Racing. He's going to take another win this season. Will be his 3rd win of the season, the first driver to accomplish that. And he may well take back the lead in the championship as well. Nicole Foggy approaches the finish line and he wins race 1 here at Nurburgring. Was pressured all the way by Chris Jackson and George McClay, but he has resisted. And Jackson and McClay, that was a pretty happy podium. All those guys will be pleased with that one, with Avdoka holding off Klusterman. Close between Carr and Antonia. These two, 1/10 of a second behind between them. Now barely anything between them. Antonia is going to go round the outside. The inside for the second part. Big net code there. And Antonia is going to be able to make that position. He's going to finish in 7th place, which could be crucial for the reverse grid in a few minutes' time. That was a fantastic move there from Antonia and a fantastic battle in that midfield.
Let's get a replay of that because that was absolutely fantastic. We will follow them from the Schumacher S onwards. See Antonia lining up for the move, braking hard here into the left-hander. Nice run on the curb. I think somewhere Carr makes a mistake. Maybe here is a poor exit. This gives Antonia a fantastic run. And let's watch from the chopper how quickly it closes the gap. And I mean, massive bravery here to go for the pass on the outside. And really, yeah, netcode all the way. Great pass. And sometimes you need to be a little bit aggressive if you want to complete the passes, and it was a great move there. And we are just waiting for a couple of drivers, Bogatairev and Switzer. Here comes Bogatairev and Switzer with a car that has seen better days, finishing in P19. So only 3 retired drivers, and I think we can go through the race results for race 1.
Yep, and it's Nicole Foggy leading the way. 3.5 seconds clear in the end of Chris Jackson in 2nd. George McClay finished in 3rd place. Good podium for him. Michael Avdoka, 10 seconds off the lead in 4th. Tim Klinsmann showed good pace there, but after disappointing qualifying, could only finish in 5th, with Richard Warmingham in 6th. Hal Stadler did great to finish in 7th, with Gary Croft in 8th. After a great start for Edward Rapriger moving up into the top 6, he fell back down into 9th, but held off Anthony Woodward in the closing stages. Philip Antonia, despite an off early on, beat Greg Carr to the line in 11th and 12th, with Sergei Glazkov in 13th. Raul Ruiz Pulido had a bit of a quiet race in 14th, but nice points for him. Then there's Clyde Whiting, Michael Frost, Andrew Hoffman. Nikolai Bogatyrev, Bill Switzer, those were the finishers, and the retirees were Dalladane, Lane, Winter, and crucially, Johnny Branton, former championship leader. Not quite sure if he's the championship leader anymore because Nicole Foggy may well have eclipsed him, but hopefully Brandon will be able to resolve those issues. I fear he will not. He will certainly be starting from the back, but he'll be starting from the front, Marco. Time for the reverse grid wheel.
Yes, and as per the rules of this championship, you need to be on the lead lap at the end of race 1 to be eligible, so all the drivers up to Bill Switzer included will be eligible, and the wheel should be on your screen right now. Here it is, so let's roll it. It was almost full, it will be 8, so 8 reverse for race 2, which means
Guy Croft.
Gary Croft should be on pole position. Let's scroll up. Yes. Alan Sadler is in second. Wormingham, Klusterman, Evdoka, McClay, Foggy, Jackson, sorry, and Foggy. So almost a massive reverse. We get 8. And I think that race 2 will be absolutely interesting with double the distance. A pit stop. You can take or don't take tires. But we will talk more about the strategy, I think, later before the start of race 2.
Yes, will be a fantastic race too. You do not want to miss it because, that reverse grid could make some very interesting racing indeed. We'll be back in about 20 minutes time for race 2 of the evening here in the Euro V8 Supercar Series.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
cleared. Punch it. Great job. You did really well.
Alfala is $10,500 richer. Two-time NASCAR Hudson is your 2013 NASCAR iRacing. It's going to be Humpy winning the race, and it's going to be Conti taking away his first NASCAR 2017 NASCAR Pecan Free Series Championship to Ryan Luza.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
flash. Three, two, one, now. All clear. Punch it. Great job. You did really well.
Alfala is $10,500 richer. Two-time NASCAR legend is your 2013 NASCAR.
Welcome back to the KSW Painting UV8 Supercar Series live on Apex Racing TV. Once again, I am Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Marco Barbanero. We're here for race 2 of the evening, and the drivers are just gridding up right now. And on pole position for this second race, the driver who finished 8th in race 1, Gary Croft, will take the pole. Alongside him, Hal Stadler. Richard Warmingham and Tony Klusman form the second row, with Michael Evdoka and George McLeod, 2 teammates, in 5th and 6th. And then it was the top 2 in the last race, Nicole Foggy and Chris Jackson. Rounding out the top 10 is Rapruga and Woodward, and then behind that is Philip Antonia, Greg Carr, Sergei Glasgow, Clyde Whiting, Michael Frost, Andrew Hoffmans, Nikolai Bogataya, Bill Switzer, and Klaus Winter. As I think we are about to get ready, as here we go for the second race of the evening. Gary Croft away well ahead of Hal Stadler and Richard Warmingham, almost 3 wide just behind for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Stadler almost a little bit deep on the brakes. Croft though has it covered, and that's a very nice start for him. A big contact though behind. Frost is round and gets collected by a couple of other drivers. That was Nicole Foggy, the championship leader. How much damage does he have? Well, quite a lot of damage. Whether that's steering damage or not, we'll have to wait and see. But an early setback for the XBR driver. And yeah,
the
just
steering,
trying to make his way through now.
Look at that steering, absolutely.
Wow.
By the way, hello everyone, welcome to race 2. Yeah, I mean, it seems to be straight enough now in the straight. I don't know if that was due to but that car is completely smashed on the side. We will get a replay of that as soon as we can, as that is Whiting not having his luckiest day today. Going around, Gary Croft is still in the lead, but that crash at the start of the race, it caught me by surprise, because I saw this car come from the right side of the screen and collecting basically everyone who was in the way on the racing line. Was something wrong must have happened, very wrong must have happened in the braking area there, off the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Really does open this race up for a few other drivers to maybe take a surprise win. As going around the outside there once again in the thick of the action is Edward Rapruga. Jackson having to find his way around the outside. Contact though, and Chris Jackson, one of the favourites for this race too, and that's a major setback for him, and we wait to see how much damage he has as well. He's dropped behind the likes of Nicole Foggy and Sergei Glasgow now, so awful there for Jackson as it's getting really chaotic in this midfield. This whole pack from about 8th to 14th, as Croft moving his way through. That is
Evdoka, I think.
Yes, Evdoka and I'll say, yeah, this is back to the lead. Apologies, so close at the minute. I thought this was a little bit further down the order. So Evdoka makes his way through. Klusman now going down the inside. He tries to only get 1. He might get 2 here into turn 1 at Nurburgring.
Can he
that's
get
a
3?
great move. He might even get 3 as Evdoka makes contact just behind. Croft is almost defenseless here. He is, these 2 are teammates, and he's helped his teammate out there because Tony Klusman has moved from 5th to 1st in just a matter of corners.
What a fantastic move from Tony Klusterman. And now Evdoka needs to get this move done on Gary Croft quickly because he doesn't want to lose gap. Oh no!
And off. Evdoka, is he going to be able to save it? He doesn't go across the circuit, fortunately, but so many casualties in these early stages. And
careful
Evdoka
there.
very unsafe onto the circuit. Antonia and someone else had to go off the circuit there. That was
Croft, I think.
He was the former leader, remember. And Evdoka, well, that was certainly a bit of a brain phrase for him because, yeah, that was not safe whatsoever. It's caused absolute anarchy once again. And there's barely a car in this field without significant damage.
Luckily, we only had that 8-car reverse because otherwise it would have been... I mean, this is crazy, and we only had an 8-car reverse. Tony Klusterman is the one laughing harder than anyone else because he's running away at the moment 1.2 seconds, if that can be called running away. We have Jackson in P8, Foggy's in P5, Evdoka side by side with Jackson, who goes into the gravel there and losing a bunch of positions more. So Chris Jackson not having a nice race 2 as well. Klaus Winter also now defending from Sergei Glaskov at the chicane. Is able to stay in front. So in the end, Foggy, who seemed like the guy who had the worst luck, seems to be in a relatively good 5th position, considering all that happened behind him.
Yeah, he's really recovered very well, and just behind his teammate Richard Warmingham. And Foggy, of course, will be able to get that damage fixed at his pit stop with no time penalty whatsoever, because they do get one faster pair to these drivers. To go back to Croft versus Bogatype, who's had a bit of a tough day so far. Not totally his fault either, but that's a nice move there with Croft just falling down the order with his significant damage. He's just trying to get it to probably, I'm not quite sure what the lap you have to get to be able to go to the end of the race on fuel. He'll be edging it out as long as he possibly can. Nicole Foggy, this is how it all went wrong for him. He seemed to be in the epicenter of this incident. And, it's a little bit boxed in going into turn 1. Did he cause any contact here, or just caught up in something else? He was caught up in something else. Oh, wow, so it's a car going miles across there. That was Michael Frost, I think, maybe having a brake issue or something.
Let's see from his perspective, because that's, the craziest things I've ever seen in this championship, which is always very, very clean. I'm not saying that was a dirty move. I'm just surprised because maybe he missed his braking spot, maybe he was touched. Let's see from the chopper. Oh man. Oh, that was a perfect storm. Contact everywhere, and that sent Michael into a spin, and he could not recover from that. Let's also get CF Doka and Gary Croft from the chopper.
So he comes across on who? Oh, the problem is you got a kink there, isn't it? And Evdoka didn't move for the kink. So you can argue Evdoka kept his wheel completely straight. And that was a bit clumsy as well from Michael to come back onto the circuit in the way that he did. He is fighting his way back through, up into 8th position now is Evdoka as he passes Winter. McClay has got past Stadler, crucially. So McClay only 2.5 seconds off the race leader, Tony Kloosman, and the chase very much on there now. Stadler struggling to hold back Richard Warming, who's having a good day at the moment. Richard has improved, certainly in the F3 car as well. Very good driver in that kind, the World F3 Championship, often taking on his teammates Nicole Foggy and Johnny Brandon in that. In this V8, he's also become a bit stronger, looking for a potential podium here. Nicole Foggy about 4 seconds behind these guys, and we've also got that Evdoka Jackson, who's now got past Winter now as well. Those guys are 8th and 9th.
And here we go, Jackson and Evdoka. You see them with Evdoka taking a completely different approach than Jackson through turn 6 as they go to the Schumacher's once again. Tires wheeling, of course. Like you said, these guys are trying to soldier on, because when they get into the box for the pit stop, they have one fast repair allowed, and so they can get their cars back into working conditions. Also worth noting, even though the sim time is the 15th of May, we are in a late afternoon setting, and this is a fairly long race, not super long, but with decent distance, so we might see the lights come on the track and on the race cars, because it's already quite late in the evening.
Yeah, 8's in the evening as Evdoka goes very wide there, and he's going to lose out to Jackson finally here. I don't think he's going to give this one up easily, is Michael, but it might be best for him if he just lets Chris go and just drag each other along. Here comes Winter he's not going to get involved. He sees certainly the right way to go as Avdoka around the outside, super deep on the brakes. I thought he was completely going to miss the corner, but no, he's round the outside through the first part. On the inside for the second part, is he going to make contact once again? Both these guys have had really troublesome races. Both drivers thought that maybe they could win this race, but it's far from it. They're fighting over just 8th and 9th places. And here comes Winter down the inside, almost contact between these two now. And surely Avdoka is going to make contact through this part of the circuit once again. And Winter's just making this a hellish nightmare right now for Michael Avdoka. He constantly seems to be offline, but seems to have established that position finally. No, here comes Winter again. And Avdoka trying to come across him. And that was very aggressive there. And Winter's going to lose it almost into the wall. And, well, Klaus there trying to fight Avdoka. And now Woodward is off as well. And that seems to be a hardware issue.
Very, very slow. Avdoka really having... first of all, I'm surprised how it's possible that his car is still working. Secondly, not giving... he's really, really fighting hard. Let's get a replay of what happened, which is not this one, of course, because this was the previous accident. Woodward is the driver that we are interested in. And he seems to be having issues. Let's see. Maybe his engine? Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, we saw the same thing with Nicole Foggy, didn't we, at Montreal earlier on in the season?
Yes.
No revving issues there. Clearly something that I think iRacing needs to address.
Either he got, some damage on the front of the car, and that maybe can compromise his radiator, but because he was far away from the rest of the pack, so maybe he was probably involved in something. By the way, George McClay, fastest lap of the race this time by, is 2.1 seconds behind race leader Tony Klusterman. Behind them, Arash Stedler and Richard Wormingham, fighting it out for the final podium spot, and behind them as well, it's Chris Jackson, Avdoka, and Philippe Antonia, Greg Carr as well. So nice battles all throughout the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Foggy also in the mix as well, but he's struggling a little bit for pace at the moment, is Nicole Foggy. You'd understand that, seeing that he was completely pile drive going into turn 1. But yeah, here is Antonia. What does he do here? Antonia, a rookie to this series, of course. And he's mixing it around with very established drivers such as Jackson and Avdoka. He's just lost out, in fact, to Carr. So Avdoka's damage, I think, really costing quite a bit. There's Antonia. Is he going to be able to defend going into turn 10? The little bridge, or tunnel, whatever. As down the inside goes Jackson, but no, not quite a way through. Just a matter of time you feel this one. Avdoka trying to make the move as well on Carr. It's getting a little bit too feisty right now, I think, is Michael. It's maybe compromising his driving a little bit. Might just be worth not fighting for a few corners so they can catch up to the drivers ahead. And, well, this is how far ahead P3 and P4 are. Warrior just applying this pressure. And as I always say, Richard Warrior's not the most aggressive driver. But it does get him very good results. He needs to really be aggressive now if he's going to move up into the top 3.
Exactly. Of course, graduating from the club championship this season, as Carr, can he stop it? He can, barely, and Antonia is now in P8. Jackson in front of them, teammate to Carr. Also, we have Bill Switzer trying to make a comeback, and Edward Rapprager, by the way, had to take an early pit stop that I think I lost in all the mayhem that was happening in the beginning of the race, and so he is in a very, very tough position because he will have to stop again, and of course he's already lost a lot of time.
Yeah, of course, with all the issues for everyone else though, he's 20 seconds off these guys, and they're still fighting quite a bit, so it's not the end of the world for him, considering that you lose probably about 25 seconds just going down pit road, let alone, of course, becoming stationary. So could be okay for him, and of course, may be able to take a slightly later pit stop than his rivals. And yeah, Antonio then being overtaken by Jackson and Kart. Docker getting closer and closer. As well, this is what happened to Replica right at the start, and I guess he was just involved in the Frost Foggy battle.
Oh man, talk about bad luck. He was minding his own business there, and that I think
I think
messed up
he's-
with his suspension because he went in
Yeah.
the pits at the end of the first lap, and I don't see any other incident report from him on the live timing. So not the biggest of hits, but he messed up his race. It messed up his race. Sorry. Who's that?
Warmingham going past Stadler.
I saw a car go
Oh, and
wide
they missed
there.
the corner there.
I
And
saw
Stadler
McLean miss
goes
the
straight
corner.
back past.
I was sure that McLean missed the corner. He didn't, as Evdoka is in for his pit stop. So I think the floodgates are officially open. Pit window is open. Yeah. So we'll see who will take. Oh, we can talk about the pit strategy because for all the things that happened, we didn't talk about that. And so, as per usual, our secret informer Tony Klusterman told us that the front tires really take quite the beating around this track, and so it's recommended that you change them. Now, when you put the fuel needed to finish the race, when the pit window is open, more or less you lose 1 second extra if you change the tires. So I think for these drivers is I think a good idea to take tires as well when they are 1 second, you lose 1 second, but I think that if you don't change your tires that second, you will lose much more than that on the racetrack with all tires and everyone around you basically with new tires.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the right way to go for these drivers. As Whiting hadn't seen too much of Clyde Whiting for the entire day actually, but he had a decent result in race 1. Finished I think in about 15th place. In fact, 14th place, apologies. But yeah, running well in this one, in the top 10 currently. Never Quit Racing driver, currently top of the club drivers as well. Although there aren't too many of them about. So Gary Croft, in fact, is Gary Croft and Michael Frost are the only other two. And of course, Croft with major issues earlier on, and Frost out of the race. As Sadler still holding back Warmingham. Foggy's closing in on these guys as Antonia comes into the pits. I must say, Marco, of all the drivers, did not expect Philip Antonia to be one of the first drivers in because he seems to have had one of the cleanest races out there.
I agree with you. Let's see, maybe he's got something up his sleeve because that's quite the early pit stop. Of course, we can understand why Evdoka, for example, pitted this early. His car was not in a good shape. I'm surprised that Foggy hasn't pitted yet, which means I think that he got away with it somehow because he got a massive hit while Straprager got
Oh, here comes Warmingham
Warmingham.
down the inside. Is there going to be contact between the two of them? They just leave each other. Enough
Yes.
space. No,
Here
they
we go.
don't now. And Warmingham will go through. Stadler will feel horrendous about that one because they had 5 seconds or so to mull over whether or not they're going to make contact. And in the end, they decided to. I think we'll have to get a replay of that one because not quite sure who to pin that one on.
Yes, unlucky there, I think. Oh, Warmingham was with a bit of his car over the grass, I think. So if we need to get, he also wasn't having the full control of the car. Then he got back, and ironically, the moment he got back control of the car is when he made contact with the Aaron Stadler there, who I think has right to be upset, I think, for this crash there. Bad luck for him.
Just tried to get on the power a little bit too early there, didn't he? Understeered a bit. As really close between the top two. Policeman versus McClay. McClay's really applying that pressure a lot now. Foggy into the pits. Now that is expected because he was wiped out at turn 1, so probably had a bit of damage. Will take that fast repair. And also may have the opportunity to undercut his teammate. He might even get involved in this battle by the end of the race. That might be a bit of a long shot because he was 10 seconds behind these guys. but you wouldn't count it out with the way that this race has gone so far. And Klusman, who's only won the one race so far this season, will be trying to back it up with his second. It would be his first feature race win of the season. His previous win was at SuperCar in a sprint race, in a super sprint race, in fact. And McClay really applying this pressure. Now, will he undercut, you reckon, Marco, or will he try to get it done on circuit?
You know, you know what? I might go into the pits now if I was him. Even though he's super close to Tony there, maybe with one lap on the fresher tires, you know, right now, and forcing Tony to think about pushing super hard with his worn tires because he sees that him going into the pits might be the best way for George McClay to get the move on Tony Kusterman. See if he
Now,
goes
will he
in
go
now.
into the pits? Nope, he's going to stay out this time. Of course, they can cut that red and white area. They can completely cut it, and they won't get a penalty for it coming into the pits. As they're down to 0.3 of a second now, so he's significantly closer than he was on the last lap. So will he go for the move this time? Klusman going right to the inside. Clearly happy to give up quite a bit of time, even though Foggy might be able to get himself involved. Of course, he's still got 15 laps to go in this race. And of course, they don't want to pit too early, otherwise they might be a little bit susceptible to be overtaken in the closing stages where they're aging tyres. So we are nearly at half distance here. Stadler has come into the pits as well, so yeah, not too much anticipation to be fair for where Harold will come out. He should be behind Foggy, but ahead of Ratbringer when he comes out. Pretty much all the battles are dying down a little bit now due to the pit stops occurring. So that's why we can pay a little bit more attention to this lead battle. McClay locking up the rear tyres, going into the Dunlop hairpin. Of course, around this part of the circuit, absolutely impossible to make the move. We've seen pretty much no overtakes going into turn 10 either, even though in other cars it can sometimes be an opportunity. Even Warmingham's lapping faster than these guys now.
Yes, this is, you know, the price that you pay for battling, and especially, you know, guy behind, of course, is pushing hard and using the driver in front as a reference. Also, you cannot run him over, so you have to brake a little bit earlier in most of the corners. Tony Klusterman, he has great experience, but also, of course, he's keeping an eye on McClay on his rearview mirror, so you go slower for this. Maybe a move there from McClay, no?
Oh, Klusman's surely going to drop it
sliding.
this time. He's just gone a bit wide. This opens up the corner for George McClay to maybe take the race lead. They are neck and neck going on to lap 12 of the race here. And McClay is now moving ahead. And he's got the ideal line on the inside going into turn 1. Klusman is going to have to try to retaliate later on, because this time George McClay will move into the lead. And he is on course for his first race win of the season.
Great move there, Tony locking the front left again as they go into the Mercedes Arena. Jackson is in the pits from P4, and let's see now. Of course, my prediction was wrong. I thought that the pass would have been done on the pits. Instead, George McClay is not only past Tony Klusterman but also pulling away, gap reaching almost 1 second in the first part of the lap, and as we can see, a bit of cloud cover, so I don't think it's you know, headlights time just yet, as Nicole Foggy, fastest lap of the race, 1:55.5, is gaining with this lap 2 seconds over the top 2 and even more on the guys in front of him. Of course, Foggy the leader of the guys with the new tires.
Yes, and it was a pretty quick stop as well for Foggy, only 13 seconds. Now, is that a slowdown for Klusman, or has he got away with that one? No, seems to be okay for him. Has actually closed the gap down a little bit to the race leader, down to just 0.6 of a second now. But it's difficult to see Tony making that move back. later on. Might well be worth for those two to come in now, just to fend off any potential attack from Foggy, as Jackson and Evdoka. Well, they like racing against each other, do these two. They are once again on the same piece of circuit as Klosterman comes into the pits. And, well, I think this is a good move, Marco, because this gives Klosterman the chance at the undercut, which is possibly his last roll of the dice.
Exactly. It's imperative that he comes out in clean air. So let's see what happens here. Of course, Birmingham goes by. Let's see, Carr is in. Will Glasgow pit? I guess he will. Not many drivers left without a pit stop. But Glasgow stays out. Whiting comes in. Foggy, of course, will stay out. He's in the final corner. Klusterman is still in his pit stall. It's a 14.6 second stop. Here comes Foggy. I think Klusterman should be in front.
Oh, is he ahead of Glasgow? This is absolutely crucial. He's behind Glasgow, and he's going to be behind going through turn 1. This could be crucial for Tony Klosterman because he needed an almost completely clean lap if he was going to get the undercut on George McClay. But now he's got to overtake Glasgow, and Tony, usually a very fair racer, absolutely, but I'm sure he will be wanting to absolutely bash that driver off the circuit because he is losing crucial tenths of a second right now, and he's not going to be able to make the move until the Dunlop hairpin at the earliest.
Yes, exactly. Of course, fresh tires are good, but also they are cold tires. No tire warmers on this car, so it takes a bit before they get into the optimal range. Maybe Tony has a good exit here, and he might risk going for a move. Of course, Glasgow has every right to be where he is. On the inside, Tony Klosterman, and Glasgow doesn't battle too hard. But this might be what McClay needed to cement his race win, because even though it's only half a lap behind Glasgow, it can be really, really costly for Tony Klosterman, as McClay goes on, which is an interesting decision.
I'm shocked about that, because he's even gone beyond halfway as well. He's risking right now George McClure potentially coming out behind Foggy if he's not careful. And, well, yeah, Klosterman, surely it's going to be ahead of him now, because you think 2 seconds a lap with these fresh tyres. And, well, he's only about half a second behind when he came into the pits, Klosterman. So we'll have to wait and see. But George McClay seemingly potentially putting himself into some difficult waters here. As Foggy closing in on Glasgow. Glasgow staying out once again. And he was very generous to Klosterman. I imagine he'll be generous once again to Nicole Foggy as well, as Foggy puts his nose down the inside. Glasgow will take his normal racing line though. And Nicole, crucially, losing a few tenths of a second here. Glasgow though does let him have turn 2.
We have seen on the bottom right of the screen for just a few seconds the gap. Once again, we will show it to you between McClay and of course that was Nicole Foggy. Now this is Nicole Foggy up to P4, and of course it became a little bit larger when Foggy went for his pit stop. But as you can see, Nicole has been chipping away from the race lead almost on a regular basis in the last few laps, and the gap now at 40 seconds. Pit lane time is around 42 seconds, so I tell you what, I think that Nicole Foggy might be in the lead after the pit stops, which is incredible considering he was completely smashed at the beginning of the race.
Well, Tony Klosterman would be in the lead, wouldn't he?
You are absolutely right.
But it's close.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As McClay does now come into the pits. Has he left it too long though? Did he need to go those extra couple of laps? Should he have pitted once he made the move on Klosterman to absolutely consolidate on the race win? Richard Warren will temporarily go into the race lead. He will be lightning fast at the end of the race, and in fact he's still got good pace, does Richard. So he's probably putting himself into a pretty good position for maybe a 4th position. There is Klosterman. There is Foggy. and McClay is still stationary. This is going to be ever so close. This is going to potentially be decisive for the race win
Ooh,
here.
long stop,
McClay
long
with
stop.
a long stop, 60 for 15.5 seconds. Where is Kloosman? Kloosman is coming past the pit exit, and crucially losing time coming out of the pits is George McClay. He can't do anything about it, and he finally makes the move. McClay will not be happy with that one, but he is crucially ahead of Foggy at least, and he's going to have to overtake Tony Kloosman once again if he's going to win this race.
Might have a very tasty battle for the race win, as the top three, you can see them in the let's say in the same shot, as Foggy lapped 56.8, Kloosman 56.5 in this past lap. So let's see if McClay has once again the pace he showed before the pit stops and can get once again past Tony Kloosman, even though, of course, he also have a very tough customer in Nicole Foggy right behind him. Let's see, I think this is the lap where Wormingham will come in for his stop. And you can see already Foggy reeling McClay in, and this might be the best news possible for Kloosman, because a battle between these two can certainly help Tony get a nice little cushion from now until the end of the race. So Foggy knows he has to make the move and make it quick if he wants to battle with Kloosman.
Yeah, and this is probably Foggy's best opportunity, because whilst McClay's tyres are a little bit cold, remember, Foggy pitted very early, and so McClay with those fresher tyres may well have an advantage to the end of the race if Foggy cannot make the move at this instant. And getting really close right now, it's the XVR driver, but that chicane just is not a good enough opportunity. But Foggy's looking really quick. In race 1, McClay, if anything, looked like the fastest driver out on circuit, but right now, Nicole Foggy is easing his way up to the rear wing, and in fact, McClay now 2.5 seconds off Tony Kloosman, struggling a little bit on that outlap. Foggy once again closing down the pit straight, surely going to have to go defensive. Is McClay a little bit late there, and well, Foggy was quick to react and getting it stopped the pair them. And crucially, McClay staying ahead, and as he builds confidence on these fresher tyres, it's going to become more and more difficult for Foggy to make the move.
In the meantime, Richard Wormingham came in and out of his of the pit lane and is in P4, so now is basically a 10-11 laps run on the freshest tyres of the entire field. And though there are a couple of drivers who still have to stop, Bill Switzer and Anthony Woodward, but they are quite a bit behind the top pointy end of the field. Let's see, because if McClay is able to you know resist Foggy for the first couple of laps when he has cold tires, he really could you know, then start to pull away if he shows the pace he showed basically all day long. So interesting to see if McClay will be able to get the tires in temperature and then start pushing, as now it's 1.9 seconds the gap between P1 and P2.
Nice battle between Stadler, Evdotka and Jackson currently going on. Evdotka and Jackson have been nose to tail for the entire race. They've now caught up to Harold Stadler. They're still only 20 seconds off the lead somehow, are these two, despite all of their issues. As down the inside goes Evdotka. Will he get it stopped? Just about. Stadler very kind there, leaving plenty of room on the inside. That's a nice move there from Michael Evdotka. He's up into the top 5, and that's very important for his points haul. Next up will be Jackson. Driver who could have so won this race, he'll feel, certainly had the upper hand on Tony Kloosman in qualifying and in race 1. And for Kloosman, his teammate, is currently leading this race. So the Never Quit Racing driver trying to move up into the top 6 currently. You got Carr a further 7 seconds behind these guys. As we head on to lap 17 for these drivers.
Exactly. Let's go back at the top, front of the field, and seems like for once my prediction is right, because after resisting to the pressure from Foggy for the first couple of laps after his pit stop, seems like McClay has been able to pull away 1 second now the gap between himself and Foggy. You can see it on the bottom right of your screen. Lap times wise, McLay lapped half a second quicker than Tony Klusterman in this previous lap. So the hunt is on, especially if McLay can, confirm this pace in the upcoming laps. So once again, we might have a fantastic battle for the race win, even though in this track especially, the chasing is somewhat easy, not very easy, but easier than passing.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, McLay with 2 lap fresher tyres, that should give him at least quarter of a second a lap against Tony Klusterman. And of course, Nicole Foggy, some 5 laps older tyres than George McLay. So, yeah, we're going to be quite a bit off potentially, because he's not a bad driver, is Nicole. So he could, well, make it back up through his skill. I have no doubt that it's going to be a three-way battle for the race win. Stadler still holding back Jackson. And Jackson would quite like to keep up with Evdoka, if he possibly can. Looks to the inside into the chicane. A day of what ifs, I think, for Chris Jackson. Of course, did well to finish second in race 1. Maybe had a chance at the race win in either of these. As once again, he's half a second behind. So yeah,
best
McLay.
for McLay. So he's really pushing hard. 56.3 for Klusterman, 55.8 for McLay, 56.4 for Foggy, with, like you said, with his older tires losing a little bit of touch with the guys in front of him. But I mean, McLay is absolutely flying out there, and I sense that in around 1 or 2 laps he might be very, very close to the rear bumper of Tony Klusterman.
Yeah, he's well on course right now, down to, just, well, in fact, just making a mistake is McLay. Just losing a couple of tenths, but he's certainly en route to challenge for the race win. As down the inside goes Jackson, as he made that one. Not quite. And we'll have to make it on a later corner. Nice defence this from Hal Stadler. May as well defend. They've not really got anyone else close to them. They can lose each other quite a bit of time. Jackson's so close coming out of the Dunlop hairpin, but can do nothing with it. Pretty much similar tyres with Evdoka, slightly older tyres. It's a little bit of an unwise move there from Jackson, just losing some momentum once again. As I think it's worth going back to the race leader, because it's down to just 8 tenths of a second between the top 2 now.
Lap times 56.7, 56.2, 56.2. So now Foggy gets a good lap in, identical to McLay, but also a nice, decent lap from Tony Klusterman, even though he is still slower than McLay, and by quite a bit. So let's see if this from Foggy is a signal of I can still hang out with this top 2, or just the last final hooray from his tires. And I think he made a little bit of a mistake there, but let's focus on the top 2. I mean, Foggy, after what happened in the first corner, I think he will be happy with the podium, even though I can only speculate about that. Because on another day he would have been off into the barriers with a destroyed car. So he's bringing home, I think, a decent effort if he finishes in P3 after winning the first race. Let's see who gets the second one between Klusterman and McLay. Half a second between them.
Yeah, it was half a second faster on that last lap as well. Quite that pace advantage on this lap for McLay. Of course, the move last time was kind of a mistake from Klusterman. McLay kind of glanced down the inside going into this final corner, put Klusterman off a little bit, who ran wide, going through the Coca-Cola curve, and once again he's got a poor exit. really leaving himself vulnerable here. The Canadian will go right to the inside of the circuit. Is there any room for McClay to go down the inside? Not quite. Instead, he'll have to go to the outside going into turn 1. Klusman with much better braking there and will get it stopped. Has he got the run on the exit though? McClay will carry on to attack. Will get the cutback for turn 3 potentially. Klusman trying to keep as tight as he possibly can, but as he just left the door a little bit ajar, not quite, saying McClay on the prowl. And, well, Klusman there, just spinning up the wheels so much coming out of the last corner marking.
Yes, so that seems to be, you know, the place where really McClay can drive better and get a good run. Also in the back I see some fighting between Stedler and Jackson, but we keep focusing on this battle here. Almost side by side with McClay on the outside, Klusterman on the inside.
Yeah, Jackson has been able to make that move on Stadler finally. Oh, and McClay almost loses it. And that was the race when flashing before his eyes. But just about managed to catch it. And only lost half a second in the end to the race leader. Foggy gets involved in this one only. 1.6 seconds separating the top 3 drivers. We are on lap 20 up to 26. Just 5 to go. Oh, sorry, 6 to go. And it's a difficult one to call at the moment. McClay certainly with the upper hand. And will we see a repeat of last time through the chicane? McClay is really strong. Klusman struggling a little bit, and also coming out of the final corner, struggling to get the power down. Once again, McClay so much better through that chicane, carrying a lot more pace. And that's a slightly better exit. If anything, it's this time George losing the rear on power, and Klusman will be okay going into turn 1 this time, but taking a bit of an unnecessary tight line there.
Yes, and of course you compromise your exit speed by taking that inside line so closely to the apex basically. And look at that, McClay now 0.3 of a second back. This last time around Klusterman gained a bit. I think that was because of the quite obviously because of the mistake that McClay made in turn 6, but seems to be back in a good pace now. Lap cars in front of them shouldn't be much of an issue. Let's see if McClay wasted the golden moment of his tires or if he can still have some extra pace left in trying to get past Tony Klusterman for the race win.
10 seconds behind to Warmingham, who of course is on the freshest tyres out of these guys. Wouldn't count him out too much because he was a bit faster than the race leaders on that last lap was Richard, but like I said, 10 seconds behind, a long way to catch. Also Chris Jackson putting in some handy lap times as well in P6. Pretty much the battle's calming down quite a bit. Got the tyre ahead of Glasgow in 10th and 11th, only 1.5 seconds separating those two. But this is the battle we want to watch, and well, it just feels like it's going to be a carbon copy of last time, because every time McClay can carry so much more speed through this chicane. Will he go for the move into the final corner? Klusman is under real pressure here. Down the inside goes George McClay, but Klusman with a slightly earlier turn in there manages to cover off the move and once again gets the power down well. Feeling the need to defend as much as he possibly can. Foggy almost struggling to keep up with these two currently. Klusman really tight on the inside there, and has he left himself vulnerable? McClay moves alongside. Klusman maybe has the better line down the inside into turn 2. I'll have the inside for turn 3 as well. McClay just falling a little bit behind, but if he can just muscle his way round the outside, he'll have the inside for the next part. Will he keep his nose in there, McClay? He almost does, but Klusman stays ahead, and that was very good defense after a small mistake.
Yeah, I still don't understand why Tony is taking the first corner so tightly, even when McClay is not battling with him, and Foggy, of course, now super close to the battle because they are really slowing each other down. So I don't know, because Tony is a very smart driver with tons of experience, so I don't know why he's covering the inside even. Maybe fears a dive bomb. I don't know. McClay coming a little bit wide out of that corner there. So giving Tony a little bit of breathing room as Foggy is now closer to McClay than McClay is to Klusterman.
Yeah, and Foggy's potentially the slowest out of these drivers due to his tyres. So, well, kind of needs to take the moves whenever an opportunity arises. But McClay, it's quite incredible how McClay can just make up 3/10 of a second through this chicane every single time. It's 6/10 of a second currently. Let's see what it is coming out of this one. It's down to, in fact, actually that time, pretty much maintaining. So better that time from Klusterman. And laps are running out now, aren't they? 4 laps to go for George McClay to get the job done.
Yeah, 4 laps to go, and also we are shockingly at 0 commentators' curses for the day. So
Wait, can we commentate curse ourselves?
I don't know, man. I mean, theoretically everything could happen. Look at once again, Tony insisting on that very, if he comes, and he should come for the interview after the race, I want to ask him why he keeps taking that corner so tightly and giving McClay the chance to, get the ideal line, the preferred line, and get super, super close once they are out of the Mercedes arena. Like you said, not many chances left for McClay if he wants to get this moved on. I feel like his tires are now not off the cliff, but they are past their best laps. They are behind them, so he's not as quick as he was earlier. Still faster than Klusterman, but not by much now. So he really needs to get one of his fantastic exits out of the final corner if he wants to go for a move in the first corner, even though Tony is defending so hard there, so he might have just to, get a better exit, but then force the move on the outside.
Yeah, I think so. Jackson also getting close to Evdoka as well. That's the battle for 5th and 6th. Also Stadler going under a little bit of pressure from Carr as well. Could be close between those two. As down the inside goes McClay. Oh, wow, he's trying to... I'm not sure if that's a real move or whether he's trying to scare Klusterman a little bit. And it may have just succeeded because Klusterman feeling the pressure, spinning up the rear tyres on corner entry. Going for the bluff now goes George McClay, but Klusterman covers it off. Can he get it stopped though? Going into turn 1, he's super deep on the brakes, but McClay couldn't take advantage of it. And, well, if that was a proper straight, then I think McClay would have been through there, but the kink really helped out Tony Klusterman.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it seemed like all was lost for Tony because he had a very, very poor exit out of the final corner, but we have seen a masterclass in defending from Tony Klusterman today. And still he has to resist 3 more laps if he wants to take home this race win, and kudos to George McClay because he's really making Tony work for that race win.
He sure is. Would be, I'm sure Tony has won some 30 races in this series. If he could hold on to this one, it would mean a whole lot to him. Hasn't won a feature race for a little bit, has Tony. And so, this would be an absolutely awesome achievement if he could hang on to it. Of course, George McClay hasn't won a race for several seasons in this championship either. And he's right on the tail going into turn 10. Will he go for it this time? Is this his opportunity? No, and has it just cost him a bit too much time? Which it might cost him going into the final corner in turn 1 as well, because he can see he's 4.5 of a second behind all of a sudden. Only 2 laps to go as the sun continues to set. I think it has set already. It just keeps on getting darker and darker here at the Nurburgring. McClay with a decent run, just having to get out of the plots a little bit on corner exits. Now, does Klusterman get the power down well this time? Yes, he does, although it's slightly better for George McClay. Klusterman's going to have to go defensive once again. Never quit racing driver. likes to go defensive into this turn one. Once again, McClay will go for the bluff. And Klusman almost falling for it once again. Round the outside goes McClay, but he's not going to have the inside for turn two. And, well, he seems adamant he wants to get the move done in that way, Marco. But Klusman just reacting to it and covering off any possible move.
How long will McClay be patient? I mean, he's really trying to get the pass, don't get me wrong, but he always seems to, you know, not go fully committed into the first corner. And basically, with one chance left there, I wonder if next time around he will go all in into that first corner. And, you know, who knows, maybe something crazy can happen with Nicole Foggy, of course. I wouldn't say hoping for it, but he's a competitor, I'd say. He wants to win the race, of course, and he knows that he needs a little bit of help from these two guys. We don't wish this to happen, of course, because this has been one of the best battles of the season, in my opinion, because it has been going on for many laps. And this is it, man. The final lap starting in just a couple of corners.
Yeah, he's going to have one chance going into turn one. He's still got a couple of chances going into the final corner, which arguably is his best chance. Because, yeah, in Formula E, of course, we saw a fantastic photo finish a couple of weeks ago in a run to the line. I think McClay might have enough time to get the run to the line on the last lap, but he'll try not to do that. He'll try to get it done a little bit before that. George McClay trying to get a really good exit here, taking a very different line. Klusman with not a fantastic exit, but it might just be good enough because McClay is still 3.5 tenths of a second behind. Will Klusman defend, or will he risk this one? No, he is going to defend right to the inside, giving McClay potentially an opportunity to get a nice run through this one. Foggy trying to get a good launch as McClay has a fantastic line going through turn two. He'll go to the outside. Will Klusman defend the inside going into three? Yes, he will. And McClay is running out of corners to get this one done. He might have to wait to the second half of the lap, but Klusman running wide. He's got a tight turn in here, but surely the inside line, as long as he covers it off for this next chicane, should be okay for him. And, well, he should be okay here, Tony, until maybe the final corner, you feel. It's probably going to be McClay's final opportunity.
Let's get the best seat in the house. Nicole Foggy, who is very much in this fight as well, as we have just a few corners left, so I think, unless something crazy happens, the win is out of the question for him, but he's still there. Look at how close they are. Top three guys in this race. This is why we love this championship, Sam. What a fantastic round, and this race too is one of the best I've ever commentated on. The tension, the drivers fighting so close to each other as they get to the chicane. Not through, they get to the left-hander here, and then the right-hander and the run through the chicane for the final time.
Well, he's lining this one pretty well is George McClay. We're having to miss the Jackson-Evdoka battle, unfortunately, because this is so close. We have got 3 more corners to go here at the Nurburgring. Race 2, and, well, he's been able to nail this line for the entire race, has George McClay. Can he nail it one more time to give him one more opportunity to get the race win? But Klusman has absolutely nailed it. Foggy will try to move up into second place, but Tony Klusman, for Never Quit Racing, is going to approach the line here, and he is going to win at Nurburgring in a fantastic exhibition of defensive driving. The Canadian is back on the top step of the podium.
Fantastic stuff, fantastic win, and it's not over yet in the back in the top 5, because Jackson is defending from Evdoka, who has had a very interesting race, to say the least, beating and banging with a lot of other drivers. I think he won't have the chance to pass Jackson, so it's Jackson 5th, Evdoka 6th, and also behind them Stadler and Carr, as they get through the finish line with Stadler in front of Carr. Let's get, let's watch once again the final corner, final chicane, because I think, hey, yeah, look at that, McClay made a mistake there. In the most important time of the race, he had a little bit of an issue at the final chicane there. He had a poor exit, running, almost risking a slowdown, and that really gave Tony Klusterman the win. Foggy tried to get P2 in the end, but it wasn't possible. And so, man, Sam, look at the new iRacing pace car, by the way, which got me very, very excited on Thursday in the Dynamics series when I saw it for the first time. I mean, it has been absolutely amazing. This race, this series has a special place in my heart, and today it showed again why. Because this was pure excitement from lap one of the first race until the final lap of the second race. I wish there was a third race, but it's not a super sprint round, so we have to be happy with two, and they were two super high quality races.
Absolutely. It was, yeah, one of the best races of the season, undoubtedly. And yeah, race one and race two were absolutely superb. Plenty of issues for drivers, but some fantastic battles as well. I'm going to have to leave you now, unfortunately, Marco, to go through the results and go through the post-race interviews as well. But I thank you a lot for joining me today. And well, we'll be on Apex Racing TV very soon.
Yes, Sam has to leave because of driving duties, so thank you very much, Sam, and let's go through the final results. Race 2 of the evening. Tony Klusterman, fantastic race win. 0.6 of a second over George McLeay. Then Nicole Foggy 3 tenths behind. What a fantastic battles these three have put on for us. Richard Wormingham, Chris Jackson, then Michael Evdoka, Arl Stedler, top 7. Greg Carr, Philip Antonia, Nikolai Bogatayev. After a bad race 1, gets the top 10 in race 2. Sergei Glaskov, Clyde Whiting wins the club race. Edward Araprager is in 13, then Gary Croft, Anthony Woodward, Klaus Winter, Bill Switzer, Andrew Hoffman is in P18, and Michael Frost, not the best of luck today for him, P19, 17 laps down, and of course, that more often than not means a retirement for him. Did he take the start? Yes, of course he did. We had 26 laps scheduled for this race. And so, after a fantastic night of racing, I think it's time to get some interviews, and we start, of course, with race 2 winner Tony Klusterman. Welcome, Tony. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So let's not, run around and just go straight to the point. What a fantastic race 2, and I have to tell you from up here, it was one of the best races we commentated on in this series. I mean that we can remember. That was some fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it was quite a battle, and to be honest, George had the pace. He had pace all week in practice, and he had pace today. My pit stop strategy helped a little bit, and then it was just a matter of making my car as wide as possible and defending. And I hope George isn't too mad at me, but I had to try and get another win.
So, of course, you defended very, very well. There was just a little bit of we were wondering with Sam during the race. Why did you pick the inside line even when your opponent wasn't as close as he was, when he was maybe trying to get past you? Because it seemed like you had then always a tough exit out of that first corner, even though you could have taken, at least from up here, more traditional racing line through there.
Yeah, I was worried that he'd duck in the inside, so I just decided that I would use the same line each and every lap, and hope that I could get out and keep the line for the next corner. It was difficult, very difficult, and that part of the track is probably not as grippy as the others, but I tried to compensate for it.
And of course, in race 1, you got a top 5, fifth place for you. What about qualifying? Because it seemed like you qualified a little bit further behind that maybe you were expecting. You were able to get a top 5 in that race. So all in all, I'd say a good Saturday for you.
Yeah, qualifying didn't go as well as I thought it would. And as I said earlier, I didn't have pace here this week, and I'm not sure why, but during the week I was almost a second a lap off of George and Johnny. So I didn't expect much better than fifth or sixth in qualifying. And Michael defended very well at the end of that race. I tried all I could to get by him. Had to slow down a couple of laps from the end, and that pretty much put paid to any chance of getting fourth.
In a couple of weeks, we will make the short trip to Belgium for Zolder for a double header once again, sprint and feature, a track that I really like, but of course a track that presents a very, very dangerous thing, which is lots and lots of chicanes with very high curbs.
Yeah, Zolder's a track you either love or hate, and a lot of it depends on setup. I've had weekends there that things went very very well, and then others that it was a bit of a mess. So we'll have to see what kind of conditions we get next race, and try and make the best of it.
Thank you very much, Tony. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Uh, the organizers of the league, Clyde, obviously, and you guys do a great job on the broadcasts. Our team, Simability, Never Quit Racing, and D4 Pet Services. And I'd just like to say one other thing. I do not recall a single race where, in practice, the top five guys were within 1/10 of a second of each other, and that sort of set the tone for the day, I think.
Yes, absolutely. A testament of the quality of this championship. Probably one of the more open championships that we show here on Apex Racing TV. It's always a pleasure to broadcast these races, Tony. So thanks once again for the great show you put on today.
Thanks, Marco. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
And that was Tony Klusterman, race winner of race 2. And now, speaking of, championship, why don't we bring on the winner in the club championship race in race 2, Clyde Whiting, and not only that, but also the mastermind behind this league. Hello, Clyde.
Hello, dude. How are you?
Doing fine, doing fine. We were just talking with Tony up until a few seconds ago of, you must be happy not only for your win in your category, but also for the fantastic, fantastic showing that the drivers had in race 1 and race 2. Especially race 2 was something to behold. What a fantastic race.
Yeah, I had some fun at the back. From listening to Tony grunting, I understand it was quite a battle up the front.
Yes, it was a great battle. I mean, the top three guys on the start finish line inside 1 second. So, and Tony had to defend super hard. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the replay of the race, the broadcast that you can watch on demand. It was a race that started this race 2 with a little bit of argy-bargy into the first corner, but in the end, I think that there were a couple of hits here and there. But how was the race in the midfield, by the way?
At the start was hectic. Like you say, there was a lot going on at turn 1, but the lucky gods were with me, and I managed to get sort of through all that. And then I got turned by Sergey, so that dropped me down a few places. But yeah, the standard of driving in the series is really, really good. There's never anything intentional. It's only people locking up under brakes and things like that. So I enjoy the midfield battle. It's good. There's quite a few of us that can sort of equal each other in laps, and we wait for each other to make mistakes and things like that. So yeah, good fun.
And what about the next round? 2 weeks' time, doubleheader at Zolder, like I was talking to Tony a few seconds ago, a track that has the danger element in the chicanes, ironically, because there are lots of them and they are not very wide.
Yeah, Zolder's one of them strange tracks for me anyway. I always dread going there. But then once I get there, I tend to enjoy it for some unknown reason.
And of course, that will be round 12 of 11 and 12. I apologize of the season, and there are still a lot left. We will go to Sonoma, Bathurst, the Enduro at Charlotte, Hulton Parks, Netterton. Which one are you looking forward the most of the upcoming rounds?
I've got to say Bathurst. It's just that track and this car. Every lap is an adventure, and I just love it. I never do any good, But it's one of the tracks that just, I don't know, that's why it's in the calendar every season. It's the only thing I insist on, and it's the only time I pull rank is if somebody says drop Bathurst.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It needs to be there all the time. I mean, it's the the flagship track for this
It is, and
race car.
yeah, for this series, it is our crowd jewel race.
Yeah, and it was also my first ever broadcast on Apex Racing TV a few months,
It
1 year ago.
certainly was, wasn't it?
One
Yes.
year ago almost. So it certainly holds a special place in my heart as this series does. Clyde, congratulations once again. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Obviously, my wife will let me race. Tony and the team, they'll tell you that I do very, very little, if not no practice. But they always come up with a setup that I can drive every week. KSW Painting, obviously, for the series sponsorship, and you guys for doing the broadcast. I would just like to add to that. I did watch last race's broadcast and did note the comments from yourself, Sam, and Johnny Brandon about my trip to Daytona.
Yeah, lucky you, man. I was so jealous and you had a lot of salads, if I'm not mistaken.
I did, yes. I absolutely gorged myself on salad for 2 weeks.
Lucky you, man. I hope that one day I can get a similar experience because I love NASCAR and I want to go there at least once in my life.
It's certainly an experience.
Thank you very much, Clyde. Enjoy your dinner with salad, I imagine, and catch you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marco.
And that was Clyde Whiting winning the race 2 for his class. And then we have one final interview, I should say, as we have a driver with a mysterious nickname, so I will ask him to identify himself.
Hi, it's Nickel.
Oh, it's Mr. Foggy. Hello, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
We have a little bit of echo, which should be fixed now. So, Nickel Foggy, congratulations on the race. Race 2, I mean, it was a little bit unbelievable because your car got completely smashed on the right side in the first corner, and still you ended up with a lot less damage than guys who had just a little bit of a tap in that crash, and you were able to mount a a fantastic comeback and almost getting what you needed for the race win in the end.
Yeah, I know, man. It was crazy. I looked at it. I've just looked at it back, that first corner, and I can't believe how hard I got hit. And the car wasn't that bad. I think it was maybe down on top speed and a little bit of understeer. But I would have thought the rear tire would be bent. Some kind of weird angle. But it was all fine. Don't know how that worked out, but yeah, got a bit lucky with that, I guess.
Yeah, and of course, after being unlucky a couple of weeks ago in race 2, when you couldn't join because of some hardware issues, you also had, it should not go unnoticed, a nice win in race 1, and for most of the race, it was basically the same as race 2, with you, Jackson, and McClay super close to each other. Then they had a little bit of contact, which very late in race 1, what I think was the key in you getting that little cushion that then brought you the race win.
Yeah, that was definitely the key. I think Chris had he was better on the brakes than me, and he was starting to get a bit closer, and I thought he might get me on turn 1, maybe a few of the other corners as I've always been dodgy on the brakes, but I finally ordered a proper, a cockpit with a chair and stuff instead of sitting in this dining room chair. So hopefully that'll help me out a bit. We'll see what happens.
At least you don't race in an office chair with wheels like I do. So I have to use a carpet on my back, like with a little bit tall, so it stops me from going backwards. And I have a massive Italian law book behind the pedals, so they stay where they are. It's not funny. Likely I picked a commentator's career, man. Next, in a couple of weeks, We go to Zolder. Of course, we talk with Tony and with Clyde about that track, which is a track that has its key element, I think, in the chicanes, and those will be very tricky, I think, especially in the second race if we get a mid to big reverse grid wheel.
Definitely. I think I've not got that much experience on that track, but I think it's a pretty difficult one to pass on. It's a lot of trains when I've been if I've ever been racing there. So yeah, I don't really know what the best thing to do with the setup is. Maybe just try and get a good exit out of some of those chicanes, so you can get alongside somebody before the next corner. Maybe breaking into the corners, but really, I guess you want the exit so you can get alongside and try break into the corner and beat somebody. But even then, you got to be so careful. The chicanes are so tight. You want to try and get all the way past them before you if you're going to make the move. So yeah, no idea what's going to happen there. Could be good, could be crazy.
Yeah. It's going to be good, I think, regardless. Before we let you go, Nicole, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, just the Team XVR and Mortal and you guys and Clyde for running the V8s. Yeah, and also unlucky to Johnny tonight because he had a hardware issue with his brakes. They broke, and I think he's going to have to send them back for repairs and stuff. So it was him him tonight, me last week. Hopefully, nobody next week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Nicole Foggy, and catch you in a couple of weeks then.
Thanks, man. I'll catch you soon.
And that was Nicole Foggy, of course, race 1 winner and P3 in race 2 tonight, as we are getting towards the end of our broadcast. As per usual, I want to thank everyone for joining us today or tonight, or wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much to Sam Fitzpatrick that had to leave due to driving commitments. Just a very, 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 very quick recap of what's coming on Apex Racing TV. Of course, we just went through, we are basically on the tail end of the iRacing week 13, which is the week of break when the new build gets released. We had just a couple of races this time around on Thursday and on Saturday, but starting from Monday we are getting back into the the full swing of racing on Apex Racing TV, starting, like I said, from Monday. So tomorrow nothing, we take a little bit of Sunday break, and then starting from Monday we are of course racing once again with the World GT Championship, which is due to start on 20 GMT on the iRacing Esports network, of course, and in the night we are going to have Ricmotech Sports Car Series live from Mount Panorama at 1:15 GMT. On Wednesday, the World F3 Championship from Imola, round 6 of the series. On Thursdays, whilst we wait for the BSRTC to start, we will keep you company with the Sim Racers World GT Series live from Road America. And of course, if there are news about other series that we might cover, like the Racing Le Mans series, the MX-5s, I'm quite sure will be confirmed in the next few days. We will let you know on our official channels on Facebook, on Twitter, and also we are on Instagram. And remember, you can follow our streams on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and also we are on Twitch. But for today, I really, really thank you all for joining us. And from myself, Marco Barbanera, from everyone here in Apex Racing TV, I wish you a good night and happy racing.